What's up, everybody? Welcome back. So today we are tying surf candy, and this is actually a fly that I get asked a lot about because of the resin head, and it seems to me like a lot of you guys are struggling a little bit with the building of these heads with UV resin. So I figured, why don't make one of the hardest flies when it comes to UV resin, which is a surf candy. And the best tip I can give you is to just keep the fly moving in the vise and choose a resin that is not too thin, because if it is too thin it will just start to sag and run, and not even I can make a pretty fly with a resin too thin. So before we start, I'm wearing a new sweatshirt, which is a part of some new merchandise I've been making for you guys. It says "Pass me the salt," and it has some nice sea trout spots on it down here. Let me just take this off and show it to you. So this is how it looks like on the back. Got my logo on there, the new one, Coastfly, and a little signature glass shrimp up here. Right, so that's the new merch. I will be making a lot more designs in collaboration with other cool fly fishermen. So that's one way to support this channel and other people's work as well. The link will be down below, and you can scroll on my page to the store, and you will find some cell phone cases and t-shirts with the exact same thing on, and make sure to check that out. I will be uploading new designs. So that's that. Let's jump down to the vise, because that's what you guys are here for. Let's jump down to it and crank out this surf candy. So the hook in the vise is the SA 220. That's not true, it's the 280. The new saltwater hook from Eric's, and this is a size 6, so pardon me, fairly small. It's not Corona, fairly small hook, but you can of course scale this up or down if you like. So for the tail here, now surf candies are kind of stiff because of the whole head being UV resin. So I want a little bit of movement in this fly, and therefore I will be tying in some Spey feather here. Just get my hackle pliers out here. And with these feathers you kind of want to be a little bit careful, because the tips are really not the tips, the hackle stem is really thin, so be careful not to pull this too hard. Also, I tied this one in the back. Let me just hang that down here. So I tied it in the back here where the marabou part is, because these fibers are a little bit shorter and they have a little bit more volume. So I want to tie them in at the back end here to kind of support the entire tail and puff it up a little bit, so it will get a nice teardrop shape. Not so much for the tangling, because we will be gluing this fly all the way back to the hook bend there, so this fly won't tangle up on you at all. So it's not because of the tangling, it's just because I want the feathers to stand out and pulsate a little bit more in the water. So just turn this down the shank of the hook here, as many turns as you can get in, all the way up, doesn't matter. tie that off. A few turns. And here's a little trick you can do with spey feathers. Just pluck that off. Don't even need to cut that with your scissors. And then kind of want to distribute these fibers around the hook shank. And get your thread. Just tie up through all this like that and force these fibers to lay down more. It's a little bit more like that. So now I can see it's not so wild anymore, but it still has that fluffy core in there, which will really help this this tail to open itself up a little bit in the water when it gets wet, and then as you strip it in, it will close itself. And on the pauses, it will open a little bit and really pulsate and make the fish really crazy. Okay, so let me get some resin. I want this tail to have 2 flat wings. You can leave these out, or you can even tie this without the spey. You could use the same technique with which I did on the cheaper version of the pattegrisen. Same thing. So if you don't have spey feathers, just use craft fur, and with the same technique as I used in the video with the cheaper version of the pattegrisen. I'll link that at the end of this video so you can find it if you're new here. The old guys will know where to find it. So, kind of measure these feathers out here a little bit. Cut them off so you have 2 tips like this. Grab 1 feather. Put a drop of UV resin on top of that. Get your lamp ready. And just put that feather on the side of the hook there. Cure the resin. Same thing for the other side here. Drop on. And here you don't have to be super careful because this will be covered up with more resin and some other good stuff. So just get that on there. Sap it with your lamp. And now these feathers aren't going anywhere, and I didn't have any trouble with getting them to sit exactly how I want them, which is why I glue these feathers in. Okay, so get the thread on there. I want a little bit of dubbing. Let's get some dubbing on there. Just a tiny amount to cover this up a little bit, like that. Then I want to put on some mylar tubing, which is this lovely stuff here. This actually glows in the dark, which is pretty cool. But you can of course go crazy with the colors here. I just like this salmon pink. Seems to be quite the magic color here in my neck of the woods. So the mylar tubing has this kind of core in it. You want to pull that out so you can get onto the hook. And then you want to, you might even need to make a whip finish here, because otherwise I won't be able to get it on. So just make one whip finish, cut off the thread, don't put that too far away, and then press on this here mylar tubing, just like that, and then get your thread back on. Cut it off. Left this a little bit too long. Get a few turns in here. I like to do it this way because some of these brands of mylar tubing are really coming undone on itself quite easily. So before the entire fly unravels itself, I like to do it like that. Then just slowly work your way around. Also, depending on which way you tie, some people tie backwards with the thread, and people like me turn it away from myself. Whoop. So if you're having a vise like me, which you can rotate, just make sure you rotate it the right way around, because otherwise the thread will unravel itself. Unravel. So in my case, I will be turning the vise towards me, and that will just give me a few extra wraps of thread instead of unwrapping it. So that's looking good. Let's get another whip finish in there. One is enough. Okay, so tying part is done. Now all we want to do is to build up this UV resin body. And as I mentioned in the start there, the whole trick to working with UV resin in these kinds of flies is to just keep the fly moving, build it up in stages, just put a little bit on and work your way around. This is enough for the first pass. Like that. Then turn this a little bit. At this stage it doesn't really matter if the coating is 100% even. So cure that. Like that. Let's get some eyes on that. I will be using the flexi eyes from Sport Fisher because they are my favorite, and especially on these kinds of flies, because of 3D eyes are so thick, they have a layer of epoxy or resin on them already, so they are quite bulky, and if you put one of those on, you would get a really thick head, and I don't want that. I want it to be streamlined and nice to look at. 3D eyes will do, but these printed ones without the epoxy on are kind of my favorite now. So put a drop of UV resin on the side there, roughly where you want the eye. Get an eye on, like that. Cure that resin behind it. Same thing on the other side. Make sure they are aligned for your own sake, not for the fish. Cure that. So now the eyes aren't going anywhere, and you can start to make this really pretty. So same thing again, just put a little bit of resin on, all the way back to the hook paint there. Around the eyes. Careful that you don't clog up the eye of the hook. That's good there. So as you can see, if you keep it moving like this, the resin will kind of distribute itself around the hook. One thing I like to do is just to spin it really fast, like this. Get my lamp ready. And this looks super silly. Well, put it in my mouth. And turn the side. While I sap it with my lamp there. I might have to put some subtitles on that. And that's that. So here you have one finished surf candy with some Spey and some flat wings, so it has a lot of movement here in the back, and this is just a really nice fly to have just about anywhere. So I hope you liked this video, guys. If you did, please leave it with a thumbs up and a comment. Please remember to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next week. Before I send you off, make sure you check out the merch. It would mean the world to me if you like it, or even if you have some ideas on any kind of design or something like that. Leave it down there. It really helps this channel, and I think it's pretty cool. So let's build a community and keep growing together. See you next week, guys.